So today I want to be kind of real about something. Look, guys, if you're not recording your calls and you're not actually listening to them, then what you're doing is you're making decisions with your eyes closed, right? It doesn't matter how confident you are in your team or whether you think that your numbers look solid. I promise you, there is always, and I mean always, going to be room to tighten things up and improve, right? And the only way that you can kind of find those fine margins, for example, the calls that have like these kind of hidden objections that weren't addressed, or that kind of soft close that was never ever going to show up as a two-leg appointment, is actually by listening to the calls yourself. Because if we're just going to be real with ourselves, what is written in the CRM isn't actually the truth. What it is, it's a version of the truth that's filtered through a rep who is naturally incentivized to make themselves look good, right? And that's not a dig at anybody's reps or reps in general. It's literally just human nature, right? When they log a lead as not interested, it's important that you ask yourself, was that lead actually disqualified? Or did the rep just kind of fold after the first objection? Did they actually ask that lead the right questions? Did they push past the kind of resistance that they felt? Or did they just kind of bail and move on to the next one because that's just the easier path, right? And again, you will never know that, no matter what you say, unless you are listening to calls, right? And unfortunately for you, if you're not listening, here's where it gets worse. Most owners, when their kind of numbers dip, right, they immediately go and blame marketing, right? You might be saying right now as a business, hey, we need better leads because the ones that we generate aren't good. But you haven't listened to a single call, so you don't know how, those leads are being handled. Instead, naturally, you're assuming because the CRM says that they're unqualified, right? But I've seen the situation play out firsthand many a time where this quote unquote bad lead was actually perfectly fine. They just weren't worked properly. And maybe, the tone of the rep was completely off, or they didn't generate urgency, or maybe they just gave up too early and just marked it as unqualified or whatever. What happens is the company ends up spending more money chasing new leads when in reality, the problem may have been in like the first 90 seconds of a conversation. So again, it's all good and well to talk about these problems, but at least in the channel, I try to give you guys ideas of how to fix them. And obviously, listening to every single call isn't going to be a good plan because it's not really realistic. And if you're serious about your performance and you don't have an AI software to be able to help you guys listen to all of these calls, then what you should be doing is reviewing at least 6 calls per rep per week, right? So if you have a bigger call center, you're going to need more infrastructure to do this. But for you guys to have 1 or 2 reps, it's very, very easy. And this is how I would break down the 6 calls you need to listen to. The first 2 are 2 booked calls, and it's to make sure that, what your reps are doing is not kind of riding those layups that, would have booked no matter what, and they're actually following the process, right? Are they doing need uncovering? Are they framing the appointment correctly? Or are they just kind of taking the easy wins and ignoring the rest of them, right? The next 2 calls are going to be 2 qualified non-books, right? So these are usually, where you're going to find your coaching points. As clearly, if they're qualified and didn't book, something went wrong, right? So you can pause the calls, you can kind of walk through it, and you can kind of see what they can do better. And then the last 2 are going to be 2 unqualified non-books, right? And for me, this one's important because you need to confirm whether they're actually unqualified, right? And, it wasn't a lead that the rep could have worked, but, they just didn't follow the processes, right? And on the other side of it, not every single lead that calls is going to be a kind of inbound sales lead. Maybe they're looking for customer support, and you need to be able to see, are your reps doing what they need to do, even if there is no commission on the line, right? Because again, if your reps are only, on as a rep when there's money to be made, then they're kind of more working for themselves than working for you guys as a company. And guys, just to be clear, I want to be completely honest. I completely understand that listening to calls isn't glamorous, right? It's not fun. It's not sexy. But what it does do is it protects your ad spend. It's going to protect your brand, and it means that you guys are going to be able to make decisions without guessing, right? Because if every single decision that you make is made on this kind of secondhand data that you're picking up from the reps, I promise you guys, it's going to cost you. And those who run the call centers that are very high operating quality call centers, it's what they're doing, right? Now, I also understand that not everybody has the time or the team or the infrastructure, to do this properly. but that's literally what we do as a company. Every single rep that we run, whether it's, you know, inbound, outbound, overflow, or kind of any of the other services that we run, they're tracked, they're frequently coached, and we, you know, make sure that we understand, you know, that they're meeting our call quality standards every single time. So our idea is that we don't just want to set appointments. We want to, you know, actually audit the proper conversations so that we know which reps are following our processes and which ones aren't. And we don't know that because we kind of trust them blindly. It's because we've actually listened to their calls and we can confirm it, right? But anyway, guys, as always, if this video helped, make sure to follow the channel, and, you know, I'll be breaking down videos like this every single week, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Thank you very much for your time.